It's week 4 of the 2025 NFL season. This is Oh Captain, My Captain, Club Fantasy's DFS Showdown breakdown of the NFL primetime games. Today's video, we're focusing on Thursday night's matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals, and we're breaking it all down next. Welcome into Oh Captain, My Captain, Club Fantasy's DFS Showdown slate breakdown videos. I'm your host, Joshua Hudson. He is Austin Amendolia, our DFS expert here at Club Fantasy. And just like that, we're going to be breaking down Thursday Night Football's Week 4 matchup between the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. Friendly reminder, if you're watching this video over on YouTube, feel free to throw us a like, subscribe to the channel so you get notified whenever we go live with all of our programming. If you're listening to us on Apple or Spotify, give us a follow on the platform. Leave us a review. We'd greatly appreciate it. It helps us as we continue to grow this channel. We also talk a lot of ball in our Discord, and you can find that link directly in the description of this podcast. Austin, let's get right into it. Our first segment, Captain Chalk. These are the chalky captains that everyone is likely to pick simply because they are that damn good. And you know what? It's hard to argue. Jackson Smith-Njigba has proven me wrong heading into this season. He has not had a single game under 96 receiving yards. I'm guessing that probably lies into why he's the chalky captain this week, Austin.
Yeah, it definitely does. And it's also the fact that he's been getting so much just target volume in general. So it's not like he is getting like 3 catches a game and doing those 96 yards. He's getting 6, 7, 8 plus catches a game right now. And that is huge when you're looking at a player that you want to put into your captain spot. And then particularly for him, if he scores a touchdown or 2, it's going to be hard to beat any lineup that has him in the captain spot. And so this is a week where I'm definitely very willing to eat the chalk, because I also think there's plenty of ways to get different elsewhere in this matchup with some of the interesting flex options that are available. So, some weeks I'm like, I don't want to go that route. I want to get different. And I think, you still should get different here and there. But if you're playing just one lineup, you really can't go wrong with JSN as your captain this week.
Yeah, as I mentioned, no games this season under 96 receiving yards. The last 2 games, the Arizona Cardinals have allowed both wide receiver ones to top 100 yards. So it's in the offing. If you're a betting person, the over-under on underdog is 84.5 for Jackson Smith-Njigba. Hit the over because he's probably hitting it, and very much eat the chalk this week. Our next category are the Mutineers. These are going to be your contrarian captain choices that offer a little bit of variety and upside in your larger tournaments. Let's stay on the Seattle side. Kenneth Walker, without Zach Charbonnet last week, did pretty damn good. But Charbonnet's questionable this week. What version of Kenneth Walker do we get? The yo-yo act with Clint Kubiak, where he's going back and forth between the 2 running backs? Or do we get bell cow Walker against a mildly average Arizona Cardinals defense?
Yeah, this is definitely one where you're going to want to pay attention to the injury reports. I think either way, it's worth looking at Kenneth Walker at the captain spot. And I mean, if Zach Charbonnet plays, it's worth having him in as your captain in some lineups as well. Because this is not a huge over underline for this game. The total line set at 43.5, which is, it's closer to the 40 than 50, which means that it's going to be fairly low scoring, which means the running backs could really easily be in play. But also with either of these running backs, regardless of how much they split the backfield, if both of them play, if one of them happens to be the one that scores 2 touchdowns in this game, they're going to become optimal very quickly. And I think particularly if Charbonnet plays, having one of the running backs in your captain spot will get you very different. It can help shoot you up the board if they do indeed pop. But I like Kenneth Walker kind of with or without Charbonnet. If Charbonnet doesn't play, he's like a very clear, easy pivot off of JSN because he'll be lower rostered, still probably heavily rostered, but will be an easy way to get leverage on JSN.
Yeah, Arizona is allowing 24.4 points per game to the running back position. So one of these running backs is likely going to do really well. We're going to bet on Kenneth Walker because, quite frankly, I think he's a better talent. On the other side, Trey McBride, he's looked good. Cardinals offense just kind of sucks. So why do you like him as a contrarian choice this week?
Yeah, so I like him if you think that maybe the Seattle side spreads the ball around too much, or maybe Arizona wins this game. And if they do it, I'm imagining Trey McBride has a big week. He's really, especially with James Conner out, Trey McBride is really the only player that I could see like taking a huge amount of the fantasy load aside from Kyler Murray. So like I'm trying to get different off the quarterbacks because the quarterbacks are going to be chalky. And so Trey McBride outside of the quarterback position is the most likely player on the Cardinals side to eat up a lot of volume. And also, Seattle has given up a lot of fantasy points to the tight end position right now. Now, they haven't given up a lot of yards, but they have been giving up touchdowns. So it's this interesting thing where Trey McBride doesn't tend to score a lot of touchdowns, but that tends to be where Seattle has struggled against tight ends. So depending on how you read that, could be a good thing, could be a bad thing, but I like going towards Trey McBride just because this offense runs through him. Whether or not they're ahead or if they're winning or losing in this game, I think he'll play a big role. And if he happens to score a touchdown or two, he ends up really shooting up the board and it could be really good as a captain spot this week.
Yeah, the one contrarian captain choice we can tell you not to play is Marvin Harrison Jr. Seattle gets their starting corner, Devon Witherspoon, back this week. And quite frankly, Marvin Harrison Jr. has been ass. Keep his ass out of your lineups. Next category is the first mate. Every captain needs a reliable crew. These are going to be the standouts that maximize your lineups. Austin, I want to stay on that Cardinal side because with the unfortunate news of James Conner's season-ending injury, the fantasy industry as a whole has been celebrating the arrival of one Trey Benson. So tell me why you like him to help maximize your lineups, despite how sneaky good this Seattle defense is this season.
Yeah, it's really just a volume play for me with Trey Benson. Like we have seen that the Cardinals they want to run the ball, and that's why James Conner has been such a staple in this offense, despite not being necessarily a super exciting player in fantasy lineups. He's just a steady presence, and I feel like they're going to just turn to Trey Benson to do the same thing, where he's probably reliably going to get 18 to 20 touches a game. And that volume alone will help make him a solid player for this week. He's a little more expensive than I would really like. He's $8,800 on DraftKings, $9,200 on FanDuel. But I will say the the spread, for this matchup is only 1.5 points. So in that context, even though Seattle has been tough against running backs, it's close enough that I don't imagine Trey Benson getting game scripted out. The other thing I will just say, because I think this team does like to utilize their running backs, shout out to Amari DiMercato. We're not going to talk about him on this, but I do think he is also an interesting play in this matchup.
Yeah, I kind of wish that the Cardinals would just throw the ball more, period, let alone throw more to their running backs, and DiMercato might have a little bit more value. On the flip side, Torrey Horton popped this past week, not only caught a touchdown for the offense, but also returned to kick for a touchdown. Let's talk a little bit about Torrey Horton and how he fits not only in this Seattle passing offense, but in this game particular against the Cardinals.
Yeah, so some of this is to do with the pricing on the slate. The players, the elite players in this matchup are really expensive. So you do have to start to punt really quickly. Like if you try and squeeze Jackson Smith and Jigba, Trey McBride, and Kyler Murray into your lineup, you're running out of salary very quickly. And because of that, you need to be able to find guys like Torrey Horton that are cheaper. He's at $5,800 on DraftKings, actually cheaper on FanDuel, which is interesting because he's been more of a touchdown scorer. So I actually like him more on FanDuel than on DraftKings, but he's had a consistent role. He's been getting a few targets a game. And it's only 3 weeks in, so we could see that moving up, that increasing over time as he continues to acclimate to the NFL. And, it doesn't hurt that he's playing in special teams on a team that's been pretty good on special teams to start the year, but we're relying on him to maintain a consistent role as a pass catcher on the offensive side, which I think he will do.
So if anybody remembers what the New Orleans Saints offense looked like last year and how they operated, Clint Kubiak, the current offensive coordinator of Seattle Seahawks, that was his offense last year in New Orleans. Guess who had quite a few touchdown passes last year? Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Torrey Horton was drafted to take that exact role in this offense. So there is a lot of touchdown potential for Horton, not only this week, but also as this season progresses. Austin, I want to put you on the spot really quick before we get into the next category. And it's simply because you mentioned Kyler Murray. I noticed that we don't really have any quarterbacks on this slate, at least in our show sheet that we are discussing. You've talked about adding JSN. We've talked about Trey McBride. When are you potentially looking to add the matching quarterback into your flex spots to kind of pair up? Like, is the better option Sam Darnold? Is the better option Kyler Murray? Because they are two completely different quarterbacks.
Yes, they are. I do think it depends, depending on the game. For this week, honestly, it's a coin flip. I think you should probably have one of them because you should be stacking your quarterback with the players. I do think Kyler Murray, to me, just has the greater upside because he has a potential to score a rushing touchdown, and so I would lean towards him if I'm picking one between the other. It depends a little bit on who I put in my captain spot too. So if I put Trey McBride there, I'm probably going to try and stack with Kyler Murray because the idea being if Trey McBride does well, then Kyler Murray probably helped him get there. If I put Kenneth Walker in my captain spot, I might play Kyler Murray again in that standpoint because I'm not necessarily relying on Sam Darnold to perform well from a fantasy perspective in order for my lineup to be optimal.
Yeah, that's fair. I think with JSN, I think pairing him with Sam Darnold makes more sense simply because you're going to get more passing touchdowns there. Trey McBride, we talked about it earlier. There's not a lot of touchdown upside. He just hasn't had that in his career. So you're basing Trey McBride on volume at that point. And if he doesn't score a touchdown, maybe Kyler Murray's hurting you more than helping you at that point. You can utilize that salary for another way. Just throwing that option out there.
Yeah.
Okay. Our next categories are deck scrubbers. These are the cheaper punt plays that can make or break a lineup based on one play and limited opportunity. Austin, you mentioned the spread's only 1.5. That means it's going to be close games. I think kickers might be in play here this week.
Yeah, and I'm just saying pick a kicker because both have been doing pretty well so far in terms of fantasy output. Chad Ryland is cheaper. He's the Arizona Cardinals kicker, which I probably would fail to name him if I was asked in a trivia who the Arizona Cardinals kicker was. He's $4,800 on DraftKings, $6,200 on FanDuel. I prefer Jason Myers on the Seattle side. I feel like Seattle, I don't know why I have this in my head that for the past several years, they tend to do this thing where they get stuck in the red zone a lot and so kick a lot of field goals. And I could see that happening again. Like they move down the field, they probably win this game in my mind, but Jason Myers still gets there from a fantasy perspective. But I think you really can't go wrong with either one. I would feel a little bit nervous to go with both because then you're really relying on both offenses to fail in general in terms of scoring touchdowns. And it's not often that we see both kickers be optimal. Of course, we had a weird game where that actually worked out recently, where the Falcons kicked like 5 field goals in one game. But I would pick one because I think they'll give you a nice safe floor. And in the case of Myers in particular, I think there's a little bit of ceiling there too.
So this next guy, you went super cheap, which, cool. The other side of it is I feel like, as a Miami Hurricanes fan, I just want to say you knew the assignment. So I want to say thank you. But Elijah Arroyo has not done anything through 3 weeks. So I'm curious your thought process here because AJ Barner has kind of been that tight end that has really gotten the run and the usage here with the Seahawks offense.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of it is getting different and some of it is straight up just the sheer need to find a cheap play. And I feel like last week he didn't do much, but we saw him start to do a little bit in week 2, 3 targets. He started making some progress. And I think that's part of the thing is I feel like throughout the course of the season, he's going to start playing more of a role in this. I don't see a world where AJ Barner stays ahead of him in terms of targets throughout the all 17 weeks or 18 weeks of the season. So to me, I'm betting on him having a pop game and really him scoring a touchdown. This is also dealing with the context of the salaries on this contest because as we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of expensive guys. So if you're going to really try and pay those guys, you need to find someone cheap to balance that out. And I feel like Arroyo is a really good way to do it. That is if you plays. He does have a questionable tag. And I don't mind playing AJ Barner as well. It's just for large field tournaments, I think Arroyo is a more interesting way to get different.
That's fair. All right, friendly reminder, you can play these showdown slates against us over on DraftKings. You can hit the link in the description of this podcast. It'll take you over there. You can join the league. We've actually had quite a few new names that have popped up and joined us and played against us. It's always fun. Greatly appreciate it. You can get easy access to these links as well by joining our Discord. Once again, the link is in the description of this podcast. Come join, talk ball, talk DFS, talk sports betting. It's all fun. We love it. We appreciate the time, and we appreciate each and every one of you. So join us. Come play with us. It's fun. Our final category is the Kraken. These are the lineup traps that sink the ship. And Austin, you know what? I had some hopes. It was a small sliver, but I had some hopes for Michael Wilson this season. And for whatever reason, well, I know the reason. His name is Drew Petzing, but this Cardinals offense just ain't it. So let's talk a little bit about Michael Wilson.
Yeah, and that's really the thing. I almost made this just whoever the wide receiver 2 is for the Cardinals, because I feel like I have very little faith in the pass catchers outside of Trey McBride for the Cardinals side. And so I do like Michael Wilson. I feel like those of us that have been playing DFS for a while in particular have this like weird memory in the back of our mind where Michael Wilson had like a 3-touchdown game a few years ago and like won somebody $1 million. And so it's like, oh, he could do that again. And I'm like, he could. He could, but I
just
don't.
Like you could win the lottery again if you play all the time and waste a lot of money.
Exactly, and I don't feel comfortable going back to him. It's like him and Greg Dortch. They're both these players that I'm like they could have pop games, but I think the Cardinals offense they want to run the ball and they want to chuck it to Trey McBride and I guess have Marvin Harrison run clear out routes and waste their first round pick. So I'm not convinced that the pass game is going to be it on this side. And so for those wide receiver 2, 3 options on the Arizona Cardinals side, I am like trying to avoid that and instead focus on, let me get a kicker in there, maybe a defense, something like that instead of going towards Michael Wilson.
All right. Once again, wherever you're watching this podcast, if it's over on YouTube, throw us a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get notified every single time we upload and or go live. If you're listening over on Apple, Spotify, shoot us a follow, leave a review. We greatly appreciate it. Goes a long way towards helping us out. And you'll never miss another DFS breakdown, whether it's a showdown slate or a Sunday slate. And again, be sure to check back on Fridays for DFS Academy, where Austin and Ryan, the host of the show, will be breaking down the Week 4 Sunday slate of games, and there's some good ones, folks. There's some good ones. So stay tuned. Make sure you're following along with us. And once again, hit the link in the description of this podcast. You can play these slates against us, and you can also join our Discord. It's a lot of fun. We talk a lot of ball. It's great times. He's Austin. I'm Josh. This has been Captain, My Captain from Club Fantasy. You can check out all the info at the website, clubfantasyffl.com, and follow us on the socials at Club Fantasy FFL. Until next time, we'll see you next week.